we're going to get started. Thank you everyone for joining us. I am Christine Doherty, Senior Vice President, Managing Director at Mower. For those of you who don't know, and if this is your third time joining us, you've already heard me say this, but we are a digitally integrated independent marketing, advertising, and PR agency. We span 9 offices across the East Coast. We're actually the only full service agency ranked in Ad Age, B2B marketing, PR Week, and Chief Marketer. So something we're real proud of, especially for an independent agency. We're really glad to have you join our third session of Doing More with Less webinar series. Today we have 10 ways success planning drives efficiency. During this challenging time, we've heard from numerous clients, that budgets are being reduced for numerous reasons, including the pandemic. But we're being asked, how can you do more with less? We've got these budgets that are being reduced, but we're asking to do more with it. So that's when we decided to come up with this efficiency webinar. So our first 2 have been completed, and we've been doing them every 2 weeks, and we have 1 more coming up, and that's in 2 weeks on June 24th, and that is how good insights make great creative. So we'll be sharing that at the end of the presentation. So if you're not invited, you can certainly send us a message or a chat. We'll make sure to get you invited. If you haven't joined a Zoom webinar before, we cannot hear you or see you. You can just see us. So if you have questions, I would encourage you to put them in the Q&A box, and I can pass them over to John and Erin. And also, hopefully you know this, but you're able to adjust your screen. So if the way that it's set up, you can just put it on the speaker. You can also slide that box over so you can actually see more of the screen. So if you haven't done that already, I would go ahead and do that. So joining with me, I have with me today, Erin and John. I'm gonna let them self-introduce and take us through our session. Erin?
Thanks, Christine. Hi guys, I'm Erin. Thanks so much for joining us today.
And I'm John. Nice to meet you.
We both actually work in Mower's Insight team, which is the agency's research, strategy, and planning team. And we're also members of a few specialty groups that Mower has. So healthcare, financial services, cars and trucks, those are ones that John and I are part of. Really, our team is all about helping our clients win in today's totally crazy, complicated marketplace. And that starts with understanding what right looks like. For the record, I just want to say, John and I have both spent portions of our career on the client side as well as agency. So we really know what it's like and where you're coming from today, not just from the agency perspective, but also in the chairs that you're each sitting in. Christine mentioned the pandemic, and obviously that's something that's top of mind, but even before that, marketers were faced with challenges like never before. We had an ever-changing landscape, the speed of change, different stakeholders, scrutiny on spend, new communication patterns, both internally and externally. We had new expectations from consumers, and then you add on to that C-level executive expectations for improved and accountable marketing performance, and that list just goes on and on and on. And that's why we created the Marketing Success Plan. So you can see this coming up here really nicely. You're actually looking at a real success plan there on the right. And what it does is it aligns marketing to business outcomes. So success planning can and should be done for a wide range of marketing programs, from anything from a fully integrated marketing communications plan, complex websites, to PR or even media-only programs. And I can't tell you how many times we've worked with businesses who know they should have something like this in place, but they just haven't concretely documented accountability for their marketing investments. So they might say, yeah, we've got a marketing strategy, or yeah, we've got a go-to-market plan, or yeah, we've got a list of tactics we're going to try to complete this year, and they think they're covered. But every time we start a success planning session with a client, we do this exercise where everyone writes down on a Post-it note 1 business objective per Post-it, and usually you do your top 3 to 5. And everybody thinks, oh yeah, why are we doing this? They don't talk to each other. We put them up on the wall, and you'd imagine there'd be great alignment. Dramatic pause. There's not. You see things all over the place, and that's not surprising. And then the next part of that exercise is to group them and prioritize. And imagine the conversations that come up there. Marketing's got priorities one place, sales has another, finance has another. And that's really where the success plan comes into play for us. it's all about that alignment back to those business objectives. And that's really, really important for a lot of reasons. But one of the big ones is that research indicates that businesses that link marketing to desired business outcomes are 2 times more likely to exceed those outcomes. And what's more, businesses that link marketing to and their metrics to revenue targets, they're 3 times more likely to significantly exceed those targets. So that's kind of a big deal. So enough buildup about the marketing success plan. John, can you walk us through what makes that up?
Sure thing, Erin. There are 10 factors that make up Mower's success planning framework. Number 1 are the top business objectives, and it's really the ones that marketing can address. Think of things like top and bottom line revenue growth. Next come the marketing goals you need to accomplish and the key audiences that must be addressed to meet those business objectives. Objectives can be things like increasing preference or consideration, and accelerating or growth in conversions to purchases of products or services. And it can help in factor 2 to assign weights to these different marketing goals so that down the road, when it comes time to break log jams on issues like budget, investment levels, things like that, it's a bit easier. The third and fourth factors are the marketing communication strategies and tactics, the things that go into market to help you achieve the marketing goals. And these first 4 factors can typically be found in a marketing communications plan. Next come the key performance indicators, or KPIs. These are the measures that tell you whether or not the marketing goal has been met, and also if you're on the path to hitting it or not. And this is regardless of the tools you have or don't have in place to track them. Factor 6 are the KPI target values. And these are just the numbers that you bump up against the KPIs to indicate success or failure, like a 20% increase in X. With that in place, next come the reporting requirements. Think of these as the tools that are needed to report on. Things like a CRM, market research report to provide data on the brand, phone software, things like that. And it also, we need to consider the frequency of reporting. How often do you need to see reports? Who needs to see them? Does your company need a dashboard? All of this is defined in factor 7. Next comes factor 8, and that's the tagging and tracking requirements. What needs to be tagged so that we can begin collecting the data to report on? And this is things like, pixels on web page and call to action attribution tracking. Factor 9 are creative and UX requirements. These are the things that are critical, things like messaging points and calls to action. Even something as simple as including phone numbers or special URLs. And last but certainly not least are internal and external constraints. As we work through the success planning framework, we'll be identifying gaps, things that have to be closed before you can fully execute a success planning framework. For each one of these barriers or constraints, you can create little work plans so that you can be tackling those to make sure your reporting and success planning framework is successfully completed.
And you know what, when we look at these a lot of the time, some of you are probably looking at this and going, yeah, I've got most of these in place. Hopefully you've got all of them in place. And if you do, it was nice to see you. We'll check you out next time. If you don't, one of the things that we've seen people kind of miss out on is factor number 7, that reporting requirements, and then also tagging and tracking. I don't know about you guys, but there are a lot of times where we get down the path and we want to know how well something performed. And then we go, oh, wait, we didn't set up the pixel properly, or that wasn't actually measuring the right conversion tactics. So we can't tell you how well it did. Or similarly, reporting requirements. If systems need to be talking to each other, it's better to know that up front, because everybody knows getting a system ready to go is not something that just happens right away. So let's transition into our top 10. So now you've got an understanding of what makes up a success plan. Now we're going to take you through our top 10 list of ways that success planning can help to improve your efficiency. So the first point here, number 10, is collaboration. And we've found that one of the great benefits of success planning is really just that cross-functional dialogue that comes into play when you've got all these parties together. And it's really awesome when you start to see them and hear them get excited about supporting each other. And that conversation is really what makes the magic. It's not just that sheet of paper, but it's really that dialogue. So success planning helps to drive efficiency by focusing you on what's most important and how things fit together, not just your own little micro slice of your company's work. Most of us probably are still working in some capacity virtually. And that means there's an even greater risk that you or your team members or other people in the organization that you don't just see walking down the hall anymore, they're just heads down, focusing on getting their own stuff done. So having a success plan in place can help to ensure that you all stay aligned and you don't have competing efforts. That's because the success plan brings that cross-functional team together, breaking silos to solve those tough business challenges together. And this is not a static document. This is something you build and revise. It's living, it's breathing, it's not a one and done. But really having pen to paper helps you to make sure that you're really pushing that collaboration on what's most important across the teams that make those important things happen. So you bring sales, you bring marketing. You might choose to bring operations or your technology team, whoever's responsible for that pixel we were talking about or the website. You're probably going to bring your reporting and analytics folks into the picture. And ultimately, you want to have that dialogue to create this document together and focus how things fit together. In this collaboration, you're probably sitting there going, oh my gosh, this is going to take forever. How am I going to get this done? This doesn't make a lot of sense. And the reality is, yeah, you might feel like you're going just a little bit slow up front, but going slow to go fast is really a major way to help drive efficiency throughout the course of your program. Number 9 is closing knowledge gaps, which is another way that success plans can help to drive efficiency. So how often has this happened to you? Chugging along, you and your team are working on things, you're headed down a path, you've made great progress, only all of a sudden you realize you don't actually have all of the information you need to take that next step. With a success plan, you can actually identify, like John said, up front, those knowledge gaps that are really going to be critical to decision making for your team, for your cohorts, for the business. And to really drive marketing success. So rather than running up against that wall, just head on full speed, you've got the right information available up front, or you've at least identified that there are gaps in the knowledge that you need to be aware of and be planning for, so it doesn't become a crisis situation when you realize you don't have all of the information to hand.
Okay, number 8 is control, and that's control that you folks have. You'll be in greater control. With a success planning in place, you'll have the right tools and processes to know what's working and what's not, what to stop, what to start. You'll know what to measure and who's responsible for it at a glance, so you won't have to waste time hunting around the organization to get answers. And hopefully, with more control, we'll all be getting a better night's sleep. And number 7, success plans really help you overcome obstacles. It identifies the things that can impede your ability to execute and track, measure, and report on the marketing. Remember factor 10, internal and external constraints. That's what it's all about. By following a thorough and disciplined approach at the onset, you can start working now on addressing those obstacles and barriers. And once you're done, you'll be able to make optimization adjustments to your plan with ease, accelerating your program more efficiently.
Number 6 is ROI. We nestled it right in the middle. Don't pretend that this list is the most important down to the least important. We know that marketing and ROI go hand in hand. That goal weighting we talked about at the beginning and prioritization means that every thin dime is going to be stacked against the things that have the most meaningful impact on your business and the bottom line. So alignment and measurement of success and upfront strategies, tactics, and investments means you've got great buy-in to ideas before they happen. So it's harder to be that disconnected armchair quarterback if some of those tactics don't work. Success planning also helps with getting acknowledgement that some strategies and tactics are necessary, but they might have a lower ROI or God forbid, no ROI at all. And again, getting that buy-in from leadership up front can help make a marketer's life a bit easier. So again, another example. How many times have you heard, I want a radio ad? You don't know why. I want to see a billboard on my way into the office. Advertising with that pub is just good corporate citizenship. Those things are all great, but they can affect your ROI. And so if we have goals that we set up front that relate to things like visibility or share of voice or corporate citizenship, then we know we'll have some strategies and tactics that drive high ROI and others that knowingly are part of our toolkit, but might have no or lower ROI. And we're all aligned on that up front. Number 5 is navigating stormy seas. So a success plan, it's a tool. It is that one-page document. It is that conversation we talked about, but ultimately it's something you can rely on to help chart a course for your brand in good times and in bad times. And when you have a plan, you can navigate change or disruption or chaos much better than you can without. You can focus on that end game. And having a plan also gives you something to react to and change quickly when you are in those stormy seas. So let's face it, if you have no plan, you got to start from scratch. And you're starting from scratch in the middle of something that looks like this. The storm is crashing on you and you're trying to figure out what to do. Whereas if you've already got a plan in place, it's a lot easier to modify something and pivot. Talk about driving efficiencies when you really, really need them the most.
Okay, everybody. My friend Taylor from the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills is a perfect analogy here. She's kind of having a meltdown because she's on the spot having asked to justify some marketing effort from a C-level executive. Now, we've all been there, right? At one point or another in our careers, we've been there and really wished that we had an easy way to demonstrate performance of all the hard work that we've done. You can with a success plan, and you'll be able to show how the hard work that we do does improve business performance, not just marketing performance, but business performance. And with that business performance, we found that it can be easier to get, maintain, and even grow your budgets, whether that's in the form of outbound marketing or in more advanced tools and technology that are going to improve and make marketing performance just that much stronger.
You might be sitting here thinking, that's great, but I don't have the tools to measure those things. But having a conversation around success planning lets you go, hey guys, we don't have a way to measure. Let's talk about what we can implement there to make it happen.
Another thing we know is that our senior leaders with a lot on their plates, they're headline readers who are really going to appreciate the brevity and focus of a one-page marketing plan with the information and data that's most important to them. It's at a summary level, but you're going to be able to connect the dots all the way from your top business objectives all the way down to the marketing tactics and the KPI values being used to measure them.
Okay, we're in the home stretch, guys. This picture comes up and I kind of want Michael Phelps to be there, but imagine he is. He's definitely leading the pack. And with a success plan, if you've got that practice and that document in place, you're better equipped to more quickly respond to marketplace influences. You've got the opportunity to win or to grab share, to bring a new product or service to market, and really separate your brand from the pack. Plus, with a success plan, you can really stay focused on that end goal, that end game, that end objective here. Michael Phelps just crushing his score, right? You're swimming in your lane, you're reducing distractions that can lead you astray, or use up your precious time without really advancing your goals. And the last one here, I gotta admit, we are rewatching The Office in my house, so you can't do anything without wrapping up with a little Dwight Schrute. Confidence, though, I said the list wasn't ordered, but I do think confidence here is really key. It's a benefit of success planning that really does help to drive efficiency, because when you're confident, you're not distracted. You're not worrying about other options. You're not worrying about what ifs. You're not worrying about all the things you're getting bombarded with, because you know that your marketing investment is focused on your most important business objectives and that you have the tools in place to measure and optimize that performance. And in today's crazy world, being confident is really more powerful than ever.
Whoops. So that's our top 10 list of ways success planning leads to a more efficient and effective marketing organization. One that's more successful, and that's what it's all about. Remember what Erin mentioned earlier on. Research indicates that businesses that link marketing to desired business outcomes are 2 times more likely to exceed those outcomes. And the companies that link the marketing to revenue targets, they're 3 times more likely to significantly exceed those targets. We hope that you've come away from this inspired to refine your marketing plan with these thoughts in mind. And while you can't really read it in our slide here, the success plan can really help you improve your business performance. If you put your email address in the comments box or shoot Erin or I an email, we'll be more than happy to walk you through this and help you figure out how success planning can work for you. Now, does anybody have any questions?
We even have a sample success plan we can share with folks too, right? If they drop their email in the comments box, just to vamp a little bit while people are writing their questions.
Yeah, so in the Q&A, if you want to put your email in, we can certainly get you that sample success plan. And so why don't you go ahead and write in the Q&A if you've got questions, and I will read them to John and Erin. And John, in the meantime, maybe just flip to the next slide and we'll just talk about the next upcoming webinar. Okay. So yeah, so this is our next webinar on the 24th, as I said. Let me know if you would like to be invited. If you're on this, you'll definitely get a follow-up with the recording of this session and an invite to the next. So the first question we have from the group is, how long should we expect this process to take?
That's a great question, Christine. And it varies. You know, it's really contingent on, you know, the access that that we have to data, the right people. You know, as Erin said, bringing in the right people to participate, and the scope of the project. If you don't have, you know, clear sight into data and benchmarks, or lack of alignment, it can take much longer. Also, you know, I talked about the scope of the project. We've seen them go as quickly, you know, for like a microsite project, maybe 2 to 3 weeks, but considerably longer for a fully integrated marketing communications plan.
And remember, there's a couple components, right? So there's the conversation that's happening live, and that can be a couple hours, it can be half a day. And then that tail is really people going off and working on the different components and making sure, you know, we're digging into, well, who's going to own that report, or where does that pixel need to live? And so that's where some of the length can come into play. And then again, it's it's not a one and done. It's never actually done. So John could tell you, you know, it takes forever because it really can, but that wouldn't be a good thing to say, but.
Okay, great. Next up, who should be part of creating this plan from my team?
I can take this one. You know, it really needs to be the people, the stakeholders that are responsible for those outcomes. So typically we like to encourage people to invite sales and marketing for sure. Sometimes you'll have finance involved in operations. Sometimes you'll want to have whoever owns like your reporting and also that digital or technology, the person who's going to be able to place pixels or talk about different tracking capabilities on your digital properties. If there's a corporate communications or PR angle involved in your project, you'll want to include them too. The other thing is I want to make sure that you know, if there are groups who historically have kind of butted heads, you want them in the room. This isn't something that's always a really smooth, like everybody's ready to go at the beginning of the conversation. Getting those people who have conflicting views together is what makes for a really robust success plan.
And you know, another thing that we've found can be very helpful is to enlist the support of, you know, a senior level executive, one who is good at identifying, you know, groups like that and has, you know, kind of like a natural ability to kind of bring people together for important business decision making.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Okay, next up, what should we be doing success plans for?
Everything. No, you know, we've been doing them for things like website only projects. It's time to develop the new or next iteration website or microsite. I mentioned before that it could be done for fully integrated marketing communications plans, but not just limited to those. What about if you just want to look at your paid media or your PR only efforts? All of these things can be helped by developing success plans. We think the key is that whenever you feel you need to be able to report back in a meaningful way, again, back up to the business's objectives, that's the time when you should be thinking we should be doing a success plan.
Okay. Someone's just making a note saying that a while ago they were working with a difficult client, and this would have been really helpful then to keep the boss on track with a plan. So not really a question, but just a comment.
That's true.
That's a great point. And you know, Erin talked a lot about, you know, the notion of collaboration. That's one of the upsides of collaboration. You get people agreeing on things, sometimes violent agreement, but agreement nonetheless. And then, you know, you're following that disciplined approach.
Great. All right. Well, we're out of time, but we just had one more question. So for those who are still with us, looks like we have most people on. Someone's asking about how much this would cost.
I have the worst answer. It depends. Honestly, it really does. You know, if you're doing this for a full IMC plan, it's going to be different than if you're doing it for, you know, a paid search or paid social single campaign. But the reality is it's not expensive in the grand scheme of what you're able to accomplish. If this is something that you're like, hey, this might be helpful, give us a buzz, drop your information in, and we can talk through what it looks like. But yeah, at a high level, it really isn't a super expensive process.
Yeah, and if I can add as the AM, it really is part of the planning process, right? So it's usually just tucked in and just a small portion of the plan. You know, it's kind of, but then it's a living document that keeps on getting updated. So it really is, from a financial standpoint, a small part of that planning process.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, if there isn't any other questions, let me just check. I just want to thank John and Erin. Really great tips and content. And thank you to everyone who has joined. And we will send all of those who put their emails in a sample, and hopefully be talking to you soon. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.